Hi, my name is Gigi Gerstenberger from FTC Team 12827, the Crazy Cat Ladies. An important but often overlooked part of every team's season is their documentation of all their hard work. Today I'll be sharing with you a guide to creating a successful portfolio. So let's get down to the basics. First off, what is an engineering portfolio? Well, the specifications are found in Freight Frenzy Game Manual Part 1. According to Section 9.3.2, an engineering portfolio is a short and concise summary of the content collected within the team's engineering notebook. In contrast, the engineering notebook is a complete documentation of the team's outreach and fundraising efforts, team plans, and the robot design. Back to the portfolio. The engineering portfolio should include sample sketches, discussions, and team meetings, design evolution, processes, obstacles, goals, and plans to learn new skills, as well as each team member's concise thoughts throughout the journey for the season. The engineering portfolio is like the team's cover letter or resume. Be certain to only include the first name of team members in your engineering portfolio. Also contained within the game manual are the technical specifications for the portfolio. First off, and very importantly, in order to be considered for judged awards, a team must submit an engineering portfolio. In terms of formatting, the total number of pages for a portfolio must not exceed 15, not including a cover sheet. You must use a standard page size, 8.5 by 11 inches, and the font used must have a maximum of 10 points. Undoubtedly, you will have lots of information you want to include in your portfolio, but remember, if you make it smaller than 10-point font, the judges likely won't be able to read it. Your team number must be on the front page, and it is recommended that you put your team number on each page. You can handwrite the portfolio or keep a digital version. Both are equally accepted. However, in the case of remote judging, a digital version will have much better clarity and quality, so you might want to keep that in mind. So here's a few more things that you should consider. The engineering portfolio must not include links to other documents, videos, or any other additional content. The intention is that your work can be contained within those 15 pages, so be aware that judges will not review any linked content, including websites or videos. Finally, the Control Award submission form is separate from the portfolio and is not included in that 15-page total count. So those are the technical requirements. Now you might be asking, what makes a good portfolio? Well, one very important thing to include is an engineering summary that documents the robot design processes. It is equally important to both have an accurate and thoughtful description of your robot's design and explain the decisions your team made to arrive at that design. What challenges did you face? What successes did you experience? What went wrong and what went right? Why did you make the changes you did? What were some lessons that you learned? Explaining the iterations and the processes of the robot design is very important. Another important component is a team summary that spotlights your team and their outreach activities. Tell the judges about your team, their roles and responsibilities, and the outreach your team performs throughout the season. Of course, your team is special, so use the portfolio to show that to the judges. Another important component is a team plan summary. This can include your fundraising plan or how your team plans to fund their season, a strategic plan, or an explanation of the decisions your team makes throughout the year, and a sustainability plan, or how your team expects to thrive and grow in future seasons. Also, a skill development plan, which shows what your team learns throughout the season to be successful. You might include one of these aspects or all of them. Your team has unique needs, and you should use this opportunity to explain how you solve challenges in your own unique way. Once you know what should go in the portfolio, you need to decide how you will package it. That's where creativity comes into play. There are many ways to show your team's creativity in the portfolio, but here are a few general tips. Incorporate your team's branding, like logos and team colors, into the pages. Visual appeal is important, so spend some time determining a creative layout, color scheme, or other ways to organize the pages. Remember, a picture is worth 1,000 words, so be sure to include your season's best work of drawings, sketches, calculations, photos, and CAD. Try to keep a unified, cohesive look between the pages to really make it pop, or totally think outside the box and use this opportunity to show who your team really is. Engineering portfolios are submitted at the league tournament at the very end of the season, usually in early February. Between now and then, you will be collecting a lot of information that you will need to filter through in order to create this portfolio. It will be important to keep good records of important sketches, calculations, CAD models, and photos taken over the season so that you can use them to build the portfolio. A pro tip is to label these pieces well so that you will remember what you were doing at the time. Keeping an accurate record of the journey your team made throughout the season is also very important. While actual meeting notes can be tedious and often not useful if they are a narrative of what happened during a meeting, documentation of failures, successes, and changes made are invaluable. When making your portfolio, clearly label the different sections you make. For example, the engineering process, team section, and the business plan. Whether you use charts, photos, or narrative to describe these sections, be clear and concise about what your team has accomplished, and be certain to connect the award criteria in the game manual to the appropriate sections in your portfolio. We'll talk about this on the next slide. As just mentioned, the portfolio is very important in helping your team win awards. Section 9.3.6 of Game Manual Part 1. The engineering portfolio award requirements are explained. For each award, there is a set of requirements for things a team must display in their portfolio. For example, for the Think Award, one of the criteria is that a team's portfolio must provide examples to show the team has a clear understanding of the engineering design process, including an example of lessons learned. Among other things, the criteria also states that the portfolio could reference specific experiences and lessons learned, but should capture the summary of the status of the team and their robot design. One thing to be very careful of is being aware of the differences between must and could. In the first statement, those examples of the engineering design process are a requirement. In the second statement, specific experiences and lessons learned are a recommendation but not a requirement. As your team reads through the award criteria, make sure you fulfill the must requirements. The could statements are suggestions, and in our experiences, we try to fulfill as many of those as we can as well. Okay, so the elephant in the room. What about the notebook? The engineering portfolio was first introduced in last year's Ultimate Goal season. In prior seasons, teams were required to keep an engineering notebook, which was a complete documentation of your team and their outreach, fundraising, team plans, and robot design. They often contained notes from every team meeting, and some teams regularly had notebooks that were well over 300 pages. Obviously, notebooks that large were very hard for judges to read during the brief judging session. So, starting last year, the engineering portfolio was a required submission for judging, and we didn't have the option of submitting our notebook unless the judges asked to look for it after judging. Assuming the same is true for the Freight Frenzy season, we recommend putting most of your team's energy into the portfolio. One thing we have discovered over the years is that narrative styles of meeting notes are not useful. You know, the ones, today we started building the chassis. Rather, concise explanations of lessons learned, changes learned, and documenting your season as a journey is much more useful. So, bottom line, the portfolio is an elevator pitch for your team, an entire season distilled into 15 pages. Keeping a full notebook is ideal, but if your team falls behind, please don't give up altogether. Instead, document your journey and keep sketches, photos, and calculations so that you can create a clear and concise picture of your season in the portfolio. Last year, our portfolio was recognized as a Think Award finalist at the Florida State competition, so we'd like to share a couple of pages with you to give you an idea of how we interpreted the engineering portfolio for our team. This page is from our team section and focuses on our team identity. Our team colors are teal and gray, So as you can see, we have a consistent color scheme that represents our team colors, showing in subject, heading, and graphics. We used shades of these colors within a color palette to give some visual variety. Also, we tried to document goals and accomplishments over time. The chart shows what we'd like to accomplish and how we accomplish it. And finally, we use quantifiable data to explain successes. Again, this section is on team identity, which is not necessarily easy to convey. So, we focused on social media, highlighting numbers of views, followers, and increasing trends, all accompanied by photos to get the point across. This page is from our engineering design section. As you can see, we use CAD renders to show the detailed subsystems, which can also be accomplished by high-quality focused pictures. We have thorough explanations and highlights of the functionality, though in as compressed a way as possible. Using bullet points helps to keep things concise, and bold text helps to emphasize your points. In terms of content, we were certain to explain why things were designed the way they are, not just a narrative of their structure. So in conclusion, refer to the game manual for all technical specifications as well as the awards criteria. Use the engineering portfolio as an opportunity to showcase your team's branding, style, and creativity. Label sections and make clear connections to the awards you hope to win. Remember that the portfolio is a snapshot of your team, season, and robot. Use lots of images and concise language that details the journey you embarked upon this season. Thank you for your time, and good luck.